Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we're here for another poetry discussion, which will take place in two separate playlists here on the channel. Number one, obviously, being the poetry discussion playlist, but number two, being the Robert Charles Bukowski playlist, a playlist of videos exclusively about Charles Bukowski. The poem in question today is known as The Lucky Ones, and it reads as such. Now, before we get into it, The Lucky Ones is one of these poems which might be able to encompass the larger sort of canon of Bukowski. It is a poem that is fairly indicative of a large portion of what it is that Bukowski talks about. And the general sort of mindset to his poetry and literature overall. It reads as such. Stuck in the rain on the freeway, 6:15 p.m. These are the lucky ones. These are the dutifully employed, most with their radios on as loud as possible as they try not to think or remember. This is our new civilization. As men once lived in trees and caves, now they live in their automobiles on freeways. As the local news is heard again and again, while we shift from first gear to second and back to first. There's a poor fellow stalled in the fast lane ahead, hood up. He's standing against the freeway fence, a newspaper over his head in the rain. The other cars force their way around his car, pull out into the next lane in front of cars determined to shut them off. In the lane to my right, a driver is being followed by a police car with blinking red and blue lights. He surely can't be speeding as suddenly the rain comes down in a giant wash and all the cars stop, and even with the windows up I can smell somebody's clutch burning. I just hope it's not mine as the wall of water diminishes and we go back into first gear. We are all still a long way from home as I memorize the silhouette of the car in front of me and the shape of the car, of the driver's head, or what I can see of it above the headrest, while his bumper sticker asks me, "Have you hugged your kid today?" Suddenly, I have an urge to scream as another wall of water comes down and the man on the radio announces that there will be a 70% chance of showers tomorrow night. Now, this, oftentimes, I have no idea when this poem was first published. Oftentimes, the sentiment in art is a little bit ahead of the general sentiment. I think this sentiment is fairly synonymous with the 90s, I think. The whole traffic jam, you've got the clutch burning, you're trying to forget work as you go home, etc. To me, that screams 90s. I would imagine this was written a little before the 90s. Charles Bukowski died in 94, 93, 94. I can't remember exactly. But when we look at this poem, this, obviously, is not to be taken literally. But it is literal, isn't it? These are the lucky ones. You could be stuck without a job. You could be stuck without a car. And without the job and without the car, you don't have the money. But to have the money, you have to be stuck in the rain on the freeway at 6 p.m. A lot of what Bukowski really preaches is freedom. There are levels of freedom. There are levels of imprisonment that come with ascendance in society. As you climb up the social order, more and more of your time and freedom are taken from you. This is something that I think a lot of people this is a battle I think a lot of people come to realize in their 30s and 40s. You could drive a longer way to get to work and probably make a little more money. Or do you want to take the job at the end of the street? Do you want to take the job a couple blocks over and you've got a 5-minute drive home? You spend 40 minutes total on your commute during a week versus some of these people who spend 40 minutes a day, 20 minutes driving to work, 20 minutes driving back. Not to mention those folks who end up driving 30, 40 minutes to, 30, 40 minutes from work. Bukowski's sort of larger commentary here is that we're wasting it. We're wasting it all. We have all the tools. We have society at our very fingertips. Even in Bukowski's day, I mean, this is pre-internet, but you could go to any library and have 80% of the world's knowledge at your fingertips. The superfluation of the information age by the internet really is stupendous, and it is not to be overlooked. And we are still dealing with the ramifications of that, both as individuals and as societies, as we have become basically androids. I mean, think about it. And one of the things Elon Musk always says is, you are never without this, are you? You are never without your phone, are you? That is the same thing as being digitally enhanced. So the commentary here, the commentary of what is it all worth to you? Have you hugged your kid today? No, because you've been stuck on the freeway. Do you really want that job? Do you really want that career? Is it really worth it to you? These are things that come to us from Charles Bukowski. Bukowski, who was less than successful until all of a sudden, boom, he was, right? A lot of the struggles that you read about in Bukowski were Bukowski's actual struggles with addiction, struggles with homelessness, struggles with being of ill fortune, perhaps, having the fortunes of a drug user, having the fortunes of someone who does visit prostitutes, these sorts of things. So when he tells us these are the lucky ones, a lot of it really is a question. This is the artistic element to this poem. So I think that in order to talk about anything, it's important to have definitions. For me, the definition of art is that which is interpreted, that which is meant to be interpreted. I do not think that things which are written for a specific goal are artistic, because that's just propaganda. Neither do I believe that there is art, quote unquote, in things like, I don't know, so sports, right? The art of football. I don't believe in that. There is no interpretation to be had there. You are going out there and you are attempting to win. The interpretation to be had in this poem is over the degree of luck for those lucky ones. The lucky ones stuck on the highway, the lucky ones who are not living in caves or trees, not even living in their home, but are instead forced to live in their automobile on the freeway at 6:15 p.m. It's a bit cynical. You have to admit that. But I think that it is also possible for something to be enlightening and cynical. Bukowski is constantly prodding us to make sure that what we are doing with our time is that which should be done with our time. That's all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button in order to stick around for more poetry discussions. There's poetry every Monday, and there are plenty of other read-alongs going on the channel right now. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.